Welcome to another edition of Live on Tape with Pete Tribuco on WWDB AM 860. That is, of course, 860 Talk Radio, a Beasley Media Group station. I am here with Josh, my engineer, on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. It is the 11th of November, and it is Veterans Day. So for all you veterans out there, thank you so much for all that you do to keep us safe. Thank you so much. I hope everybody's enjoying the day. I know that it was celebrated yesterday, I guess, but the real day, which, by the way, was called Armistice Day before it became Veterans Day, and that's the 11th of November. So thank you so much. So, Josh, did you know it was called Armistice Day before it became Veterans Day?
Actually, I did, because my father is a retired history professor. He focused on some American history, but most of it was French.
Oh, really? Cool. Basically, I guess it started around World War I. It started then, and it was a very small event. And then it blossomed into now a national holiday. It took a while, but it got there. So, and again, a lot of veterans right now, you know, are obviously... My daughter actually works for the Veterans Affairs, I guess Veterans Affairs in New Jersey, in Department of Veterans Affairs, and she's doing surveys with them and all the problems they have, the PTSD and all the things that are going on. Folks, you don't realize what the stress they go through and what they need to have. And our society, for some reason, you know, we have great hospitals, but our veterans hospitals are not nearly up to the level they should be. So, my calling basically is to say, look, let's not just, celebrate Veterans Day, but let's celebrate in another way. Let's give them the best that money can buy when they're in the hospital, taking care of all their illnesses, including PTSD, which my daughter sees a lot, and she talks with them every single day. It's an issue that we need to still take care of. So happy Veterans Day to everyone. And yes, I will tell you, thank you for what you have done, your service. And I, as well as this nation, a great nation, appreciate what you're doing and what you have done. All right. So, Josh, we got some great guests. We got one great guest today. Okay, he's amazing. I actually did a movie with him, or at least a part of the movie. The actual introduction or trailer, whatever you want to call it. The movie's called Pickens. It's a good movie. All right, and this gentleman, okay, Yaron Urbas, is an amazing actor. But not only that, he does everything. He just whatever he touches turns to gold. He's like King Midas over here. Okay. So we're really happy to have him on the air. So, Yaron, how are you today?
Hey, Pete. Thank you so much, man. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
No, it's great to have you on the show. I can't tell you how much. Now, I don't know if, I don't know, Josh, if you did the board for any of, because I've had Yaron on a few times. But here's the deal, okay? This is what he's done. If you watched Orange is the New Black, he was there. He was recurring on Orange is the New Black, okay? But that's not it. Let's go down the Crazy Town, The Haunted Mind of Insomniac, The Law and Order, Organized Crime, FBI, The Holdover, Wrestling Christmas Miracle, Eric and Andre's Show, Magic Max, For Life, You Are Not Alone. And I remember the pilot Against America, which was on HBO, which is actually amazing as well. And I can just go on and on and on. It says 81 different on IMDb. You have 81 different things. Bull, you've been on Bull. Manifest, okay, is another one. Pickens, which is the movie that I ended up having to do the trailer with, which was a lot of fun. Just so many things here that I can just go on and on and on. So what's that like? I mean, obviously you are a seasoned actor and a seasoned, person. Tell me, how'd you get all that done? How did you get so many people calling you and wanting you to be in these shows for cable, for television, for movies? How did that happen, Yaron?
A slow, steady progression of just when I entered the business, which was much later in life in comparison to a lot of my peers who started, very early in life, straight out of school. This isn't something I started until my mid-30s.
Wow.
I'm 50 now. Yeah. So when I left my corporate job, my corporate work, I was an executive. I decided to pursue acting sort of earnestly and take a few years to really give it a serious, honest try. And I took anything and everything from student films to no budget films, didn't get paid for many different projects I did. I got to open my mouth on a docudrama the first time, so I got to do some acting. It was actually stage. My first acting gig was a community theater project called Passion of Christ. So that was the first time I got to act on stage, and that was an awesome experience. But then at some point, docudrama, which for people who don't know, that's like sort of, the retelling of real stories with some acting in the background to give you a sense of what's going on. So I did a bunch of docudramas, and then eventually I got one that was kind of a little more significant. And then one thing led to the other, and eventually I got a network show, and I got on the blacklist. The blacklist was my made it to the big leagues moment.
Okay.
I was, that was an awesome experience, and then I just, occasionally I continued to book a show here, a show there over time. Like you mentioned, Orange is the New Black. I also did Gotham, Bull. Most recently, I was able to, I was on Law and Order's Organized Crime, FBI, all those were projects before the strike. And yeah, I've just been very, how I got there was a lot of hard work, eventually getting an agent, but you don't get the agent until you produce results.
Yeah, until you prove yourself. Yeah. Also, I know.
Well, yeah, but
it's
a chicken egg thing though, because how do you get an agent if you're not known and you're not getting work, right? They want you when other people want you, which is kind of. So how do you get other people to want you? You just keep going. You just keep working.
Fantastic. Well, Josh has got a question, my engineer and my producer. Josh, go ahead.
Thank you, Pete. Looking back over all the characters you've played in the different roles you've had, I've got to ask, which would be your top favorite two as you reflect back on that?
Wow. Top favorite two. So I think the Blacklist was very special to me, and I think I don't want to get political or turn this political, but I'm Jewish, and the first big role I got was playing a Mossad agent on the Blacklist.
Okay.
That was special to me. I'd have to say the second one was The Plot Against America, which unfortunately is somewhat basically, if you to be very brief, it's a series that follows what happens if, unfortunately the Nazis had won, and anti-Semitism ruled. And what happened was Jews had to start evacuating because things were getting serious. And that's what the show is primarily about. It's based on a best-selling novel. And I played an Orthodox driver. Now, these weren't massive parts, guys. These were small parts, but they were very near and dear to me. I played an Orthodox Jew. You wouldn't recognize me. I had a full beard. I had the whole garb, everything. And I'm just reaching out to a brethren, and I'm like, hey, be careful. It's a nice little moment. We exchange. I said, look, be careful, but you might have to leave. So anyway, those were dear moments to me because I got to portray my culture a little bit. Now, something a little lighter, a little more fun. It never made the cut. Sometimes that happens. You might have done a great job, but they still don't use it in the final edit. There's a TV show. I don't remember the name, but it's a Cloud9, Super Cloud. It's basically a Walmart parody. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it at all.
Yeah.
Okay. So long story short, the reason that one was special to me, it's comedy. And I basically played this Polish janitor, and I'm half Polish.
Okay.
And there's a word I use. I'm not going to. Okay. I can say vagina. Okay.
Yeah.
It's basically vagina in Polish. I'll tell you why it's relevant. In the scene, I have to scream out, hey, to my coworker, look, I'm looking at a picture of a vagina in Polish. And I just thought, this is so weird. Like, where else would I get cast? I made my mom proud by portraying my culture, screaming out to some random person, hey, there's a picture of a vagina here in Polish. So anyway, things that let me play something close to my culture are kind of fun. So those stand out. I hope I answered the question.
No, but, I thought you were going to mention Pickens, the movie, because I was in it with you, or at least in the trailer. Sure. We worked together, and I tell you, man, that was a pretty cool deal. You did so well in that movie, and it ended up getting a bunch of awards and stuff along those lines. But I would have thought you would have maybe picked that one too, because you really had to ad lib a lot.
We
Yeah.
had some fun. I mean, we had, that was. Oh, by the way, the name of this show is Superstore. If you
Oh,
guys
okay.
know
So,
it. It's,
yes, I'm
yeah,
familiar with
that's it.
Superstore.
So,
Yes. Yeah.
and that was also. I want to say one other thing about that. It was special because it was out in L.A. I had been out in L.A. for 3 months. Didn't book anything. I decided
Okay.
to go to L.A. and didn't book anything. And when I flew back to New York, is when my manager called me from L.A. and said, "Yaron, you got to fly back. You just booked Superstore."
Oh, wow.
So that's another reason why it's special. But back to no, dude, Pickens was fun. We had a great time. I played a lot of bad guy characters. I played a mobster. We definitely had some fun there, and it was good. It was good times, definitely. And you did a great job too, man.
I'm not an actor. I just play one. I'm just kidding. I just had fun. I just had fun with you guys. It was just a lot of fun to do. I'm more of a theater person. The film stuff, basically stop and reshoot, stop and reshoot, stop and reshoot. To me, I just let's just do it. If it goes, it goes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But you're also in 30 Rock, Castle, Nurse Jackie, Kings, Law and Order Special Victims. By the way, Nurse Jackie, I had a walk on that. I actually played a reporter during the storm,
Nice.
and I actually had about 8 lines in that show. During the I had 8 lines.
You did better than me. I was just on Nurse Jackie. I was just background. I just did background work. So you got lines on that show. That's awesome.
Yes, I was part of the dream sequence, and there was a big hurricane coming, and I was on. Not mind you, it was all blue screen, a green screen.
Yeah.
But the cool part was I actually did that. So that was pretty cool. Never did meet, of course, the real actresses and stuff, but it was fun.
Sure.
But no, you have done 81. I count 81. You go to my that is a lot. There's a lot of different shows, a lot of different things that you have done, and you're telling me you started when you were in your 30s and not even earlier than that. Tell me about your career before that.
So I was my career out of college. Was in software development, and I worked my way up to eventually specializing. I was what you call a quality assurance engineer.
Uh-huh.
So basically, I had to make sure software works. Software we're going to sell works. But I sort of worked my way up. Eventually, became an exec over the years. I rode the whole .com wave. I was just one of the contributing people to the development of technology and products that were being sold over the internet. The internet was just becoming an emerging thing, and I started before Amazon was what it is, right? When Amazon was still doing books and, selling CDs and DVDs. I mean, I rode that wave, and I'm grateful. It was wonderful. So I was a technology guy, and then eventually I became a marketer guy. And along the way, I was, using those skills to build, a small business on the side. I sold personal healthcare products on Amazon, by the way. And that just, I've always had a small business on the side while I'm working full time. I worked at Merrill Lynch. Got an internship there when I was a kid, and I was still in college trying to finish up. And I ran a pet care service while I was at Merrill and going to college full time. So I've always had a side thing going on. So that was my past, very entrepreneurial.
Okay, but
got that from my grandmother. Yeah.
Yaron, I got to admit one thing. That is very, very courageous. I mean, you have a great job. You're making probably a 6-figure income. You're doing well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
And you've decided, you made a choice, okay, which most of us will never even think about doing, to make a choice to try acting. And this
it was crazy.
It was, but it worked. I mean, look at 81 different events that you're, or 81 different productions or programs that you're in. What was that like? I mean, did you have to really think about this and just how did you make that decision? Was it quick?
I think, I mean, I'd like to say I thoroughly planned it and this and that. And I mean, I certainly discussed it with my, my wife at the time. And I just thought it through, and I said, look, I'm not getting any younger, and this is something I'd wanted to do. I'd been involved in when I was a kid. So in my past life, I was a professional rapper. I was maybe 18. I was starting a rapping career.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So I, and that was very brief. That was only a couple of years. It sort of fell apart after a couple of years, and I realized I need to go back to school and just more traditional track. But I'm used to sort of pursuing my art, in art, that's important. I'm an artist at heart.
Okay.
I'm very much an entrepreneur, very much a capitalist, but I'm also very much an artist at heart, and I try to balance the two. And so I'm used to doing things like that. I think you live once. You know what's cool? I don't know if you've seen it. There's a Netflix documentary out there on Sly, Sylvester Stallone. I don't know if you or Josh have seen it at all.
Not yet. I was looking into that.
It's awesome.
How about Josh? Have you seen it?
See it.
Josh, have you seen it?
Actually, I have seen it because I have a.
Wasn't it awesome?
I thought it was a very unique look into Sly Stallone because the movie image you have of him is this big tough guy, and then you go through this documentary and you're like, wow.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is a smart guy. He's smart. He reminds me of Marilyn Monroe. He played dumb, but he wasn't.
Really?
Marilyn Monroe was a highly intelligent woman. Of course he did. I mean, his character is the persona, and like you said, the tough guy image. You listen to this man speak; he's extremely eloquent. He's always been eloquent. But anyway, the reason I bring him up is he talks about, to summarize, his story is, if you don't give it a shot, you're going to regret it the rest of your life. And it's I got to remind myself to take chances nowadays and loosen things up again. I feel like, you get safe, you get complacent.
Uh-huh.
And, if it's I think what you got to do is you got to ask yourself, whatever your passion is in life, whatever it is you want to do, in order to motivate you to get over the fear of uncertainty, not knowing whether you'll succeed or not.
Yeah.
You got to remind yourself what it's going to feel like if you look back and realize you never even tried.
Well, that's.
I mean, that's bitter. That's painful.
Well,
that hurts more than not trying.
Well, I got to commend you. That's absolutely amazing, and we'll be back with Live on Tape right after this. Each year, 5,000 people, including children, choke to death. LifeVac can stop these senseless tragedies. It's so easy to use. Also, simply place the mask over face, push and pull. You'll never regret having a LifeVac in your home or office. Please visit lifevac.net today to protect you and your loved ones. Or you can call them at 877-LIFEVAC. That's 877-LIFEVAC.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart.
Heather's moment has arrived, and you just hope all that training pays off.
Heather lays down her purchase, but Randy rings it up as slowly as he can.
Uh-oh.
Yep, she's looking at the cigarettes.
There's nothing good back there.
Heather's arm is in motion, but she just grabs the gum off the counter.
That's a slick move.
Even Randy tips his cap to Heather. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally wants you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
And we're back to Live on Tape with Pete Tribuco on WWDB AM 860 Talk Radio Philadelphia. And we've got a great guest, obviously, a good friend of mine. He's great, and he does a million different things. We'll talk about all the things that he does. But we have actor Yaron Urbas on, and some of you might have seen him in Orange is the New Black, or maybe in Crazy Town, or Law and Order, any of the Law and Order, or FBI, or any of those programs. I mean, there's 81 of these different programs that we can talk about, and we've been talking about since then. Has a really good career, has done so much for the industry, and I was lucky enough to actually do a trailer for a movie with him at one point, in which I was in awe of his acting ability. So again, Yaron, thank you for coming in and seeing us today and talking about the courage you had to, at 30 years old or in the 30s, deciding that, look, I'm not going to make my six-figure income. I'm going to do something I want to do and I love. And you decided to do the acting and, of course, side things that you're doing. We'll talk about that and the companies that you have. But that took a lot of courage for you to do. So, kudos to you. And hopefully people in the listening audience will learn something from, your words.
Yeah, a lot of people have inspired me. I hope I managed to inspire someone else. That's what we do. Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me something now. I don't know about you, but whenever I'm doing something, and I do theater more than I do anything else because I'd rather do the one-shot deal and not worry about it. Mm-hmm. You have lines, okay? And I think we talked about this once before, maybe a while back, that you've got lines in certain shows, and if you get it wrong, and there are a lot of extras hanging around watching you do this, it's got to be pressure when you're like, You're
Oh,
the guy.
man.
You're the guy. I mean, you got to get those lines right. And these other extras who are dying to be in your spot. What's that like?
Yeah,
What's the
man.
pressure like?
I'm glad you mentioned that, man. So my moment of trial by fire, the first time I got to do a part that I considered a big deal, was called The Men Who Built America. It was a really well produced, really high quality docudrama. So you have lines, you have a speech. This was the first time, you have to understand, a producer called me.
Uh-huh.
And the producer was the one actually doing the casting, which isn't always common. Sometimes the casting director is usually the one that reaches out and lets you know you booked something. Producer calls me. It was around the holidays. He says, Yaron, hi, I'm so-and-so. We're interested in having you play this character. He was a real-life character, Hugh O'Donnell. He was a union leader. He wanted me to fly out to West Virginia. And I thought it was a joke. I really did. I told the guy, can I call you right back? And he was kind of like, what? Yeah, okay, call me back. I needed to take a minute. I called back and I was like, hi, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, no, this is real. You've booked this. We'd like you to fly out. So long story short, they fly me out, pick me up, put me in a hotel. I'm like, oh my God. In my mind, I've made it. I've arrived.
Uh-huh.
So here we go. So I have lines, and it turns out I have a speech, and the director talks about it. He hints at, by the way, your speech is coming up. And I'm thinking to myself, what speech? I don't remember having a speech in my lines. So it turns out, accidentally, the producer forgot to give me my speech.
Oh.
And it was my turn to get up there on the stage with 40, 50 extras looking at me. And I'm like, I'm telling the director, I don't have a speech. He goes, you don't have a speech? I'm like, no. Producer comes over. Oh, my gosh, Yaron, it's my fault. I didn't send you the speech. So here's what happens. This is my first time, guys. First time with like a significant amount of lines on a real TV show. This show did very well, by the way. It was on the History Channel, but it still airs to this day.
Sure.
And I've literally been on set shooting on another project with other actors, and I got a call one time from another actor. We had a day off, and he calls me. He goes, Yaron, I'm watching the History Channel. Is that you? I was like, oh, shit, yeah. They go, excuse me, pardon me. Yes. I'm like, yeah, that's me, man. So long story short, the director says to me with an awesome British accent, listen, Yaron, I'm gonna give you some time to look this over and then come back. I'm like, okay, no problem. So I'm like, how much time? He says 10 minutes. 10 minutes? So I look at him and I go, okay, is it all right? Like, does it have to be perfect? He goes, verbatim. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
I've got a PA, it's production assistant, coming over to me. Do you need anything? I'm like, can I have a cup of tea? I'm just kind of, my nerves are a little up. I'm like, she put some honey in there. My throat is also a little sore. She's doing this, that, give me this. I'm doing my lines. I get up on that stage. I deliver the lines. It was a 2-page speech, and I'm like surprised with myself. I actually got it out, and I thought I did a decent job. The director yells cut, and there's a person on set whose job it is to follow your lines as you say them and make sure you say them correctly.
Yes.
And if you don't, they will let you know. They call it a scriptee. Okay. So the director, the scriptee goes, okay, this word is wrong, that word's wrong. I'm like, what? I thought it was pretty good. And the director's like, okay, no worries. We're going to do it again. We do it again. Now I'm doing it. I'm trying my best to hit every word. I'm not, it actually, again, someone who doesn't know the lines would look at me and go, okay, that was pretty good, but they know the lines. Now here's the thing. I'm going through this, not doing too bad. Now I'm hearing comments on the side. The background people are looking at me like this guy comes here, doesn't prepare his, like I can tell. People are looking at me annoyed because it's cold. We're in West Virginia. It's during the holidays. I believe it was in December.
Uh-huh.
It was like snowing out there. Everybody's cold. Everyone's grumpy. And I'm just thinking to myself, these guys don't know that I literally just got this speech, And I'm just doing the best I can. In the end, it looked, I got to say, yes, I contributed it to looking pretty good, but between the amazing director, between the editor who makes you look amazing even when you're not amazing, between the camera setup, it looked fantastic. It looked great and it worked. But I remember the director was so kind. He some of the background people, he reduced it from 50 to like 30. He kept shrinking it so that I would be less distracted.
Gotcha.
And but in the end, brother, it was a trial by fire. This was God's way of saying, you want this, Yaron? Okay. You know, in my life, I feel like God's been very good to me, but He's always challenged me.
Okay.
I always feel like He's let me have my way sometimes, but He doesn't always make it easy. But I have a feeling most people would probably say that anything they want to do in life, God hasn't always made it so easy, you know? And if it's too easy, it's no fun, is it? Right?
No, I agree.
So back to what you were saying. Yeah, you need to get your lines right. You definitely need to get your lines right, but you also need to get them in advance so you can prepare. But if you don't, I mean, you got to just do it, man.
Well,
you know, I've seen guys on sets, on the spot, professionals. You know, they fumble their lines, but they're the regulars. They can get away with it. You know. So anyway, go ahead.
Well,
you were saying, I'm sorry.
As I said, they said, well, you know, I've been in that situation. I mean, I've done theater where, you know, the person who's doing the captain and anything goes has a heart attack, and I get a phone call during Tech Week. All right, come on in. We need you to come in.
Wow.
I've had to do it several times, including 12 Angry Jurors. That was another one I had to do in which I came in. And I'll tell you something. You're better than I am, because I tell you, I almost had a heart attack. I mean, I walk in, and maybe we're opening on a Friday, and I get the script probably on a Monday. People have been together now because it's a musical. They've been together for at least 2 or 3 months, at least. And I walk in, and I got to learn 2 songs, one dance, and about 150 lines. Not that much, but 150 lines. And
That's
I tell you,
a lot.
and
That's
I tell you, like you, I felt like, you know, I got to do the best I can, and I did. We ended up getting through it, and it was fine and everything. But I will tell you, that's when you know that this is what you want to do. Okay, and I did the best I could. But in your case, you had nothing. I couldn't do that. In fact, most actors, even though they might be actors, you know, they might just you know, add a few lines here and maybe change it around a little bit, because that's pretty much what you do in the last minute. Even on stage, you do that. But you did it perfectly, and the show is how good you are at your profession, that you can do that and take, you know, watch the people that are the extras looking at you and starting to talk to you, and having good directors that say, look, don't listen to them. We're going to make this work out. We know it was our fault, and work with you and give you the confidence to go ahead and do that. So that was probably a aha moment for you.
Yeah, you got it. You know, I think you hit on something there. You got to have people support you, man. You know, if I felt like I was going to cave in, but the director believed in me. He tried to protect me because he knew that everyone else didn't know. I have no malice towards the producer. We're Facebook friends to this day. He's a sweetheart. He's a good dude. He gave me my opportunity. It wasn't his fault. You know, at the end of the day, you can't whine, bitch, moan, and groan. You got to do it. And if people believe in you and support you, then you push through it.
Yeah.
And that's what you do. That's, you know, especially, you know, it's certainly a financial venture when they put a TV show together because it needs to sell. But it's a little different. We are artists. And I like to think that, you know, artists, you know, we're supposed to be supportive of one another. We're supposed to help each other. I think sometimes, I can only speak to acting, but I think sometimes we forget that we're not competing against one another. You know, it's, and in difficult moments in your career, it's a nice thing to have other people support you, which is really what it should be.
That's true.
So I can't take all the credit for that success.
Listen. I know. Yaron, I know you, and you're very good at what you do. So I'm glad to have you on the show. One last question, and we're going to go to break, and that is, Orange is the New Black. Okay, that was a great show. I loved it, and you had recurring roles on it. What was that like working in that set?
It was good. I mean, it was fun. I had been watching the show. The fun thing for me with that show is, so I've got family in Israel. Okay, half my family's out there, and
I hope they're okay. I hope they're okay.
Thank God, Baruch Hashem, as we say in Hebrew, they are. But obviously, it's obviously it's complicated there, and obviously it's complicated for Palestine as well. I want to be clear about that too. They're doing okay though. Thank God. Hopefully, we all get through this.
That's good. That's good.
Through this soon. What I have to say is they were seeing my progression. They were slowly starting to see, hey, Yaron's booking things. You know, one of my sisters had visited me here, and this is when I was just getting started in acting. And I told her, look, I'm thinking of doing this. And she's like, really? She's like, I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to seriously pursue acting. So anyway, finally, when I get on Orange is the New Black, which is played was being watched all over the world and was very popular in Israel, my sisters are like, oh, okay. That's him. That's our brother. He's actually, in their minds, because they don't know. They're thinking, oh my gosh, he's a superstar, this and that. So anyway, the actually being on that show, period, by itself was an amazing experience. I got to work with some wonderful people. I didn't really get to work with I only got to work with one of the leads, which was fun. I had a great fun scene. I played a cop.
Yeah.
Which I typically play. It was very quirky. It was the type of character I like to play, just a sort of naturally sarcastic but lovable character. It was great, man. It was awesome, to be on set. They actually, the jail cell facility is actually a former psychiatric center.
Oh, really?
So it was like a former psychiatric hospital. Yeah. So if I recall, it was somewhere upstate. So that whole experience was kind of cool, it's amazing how they changed the sets to make it fit whatever they're shooting. And it was good, man. Now, one of the stories I can share about that made it a little more special is I originally thought it was just going to be one day, one role.
Yeah.
And what happened was a few months later, they called me back and they said, look, we'd like you to come back for another scene in another episode. Now, here's the fun part. I won't mention the director's name, but he was a famous actor in the 80s as well. I won't mention his name, though. I had done background work when I was just getting started in this career. And I was just playing a waiter, and I was in a scene, and this actor, he's still an actor, but he's also a director, okay? He was directing this episode of this show, and he saw me, and I'm sort of in the middle of a scene, and I think he felt I was just me. My presence was distracting. So he goes, you, go to the right. Okay, a little more to the right. You know what? Just get out of the scene.
Uh-huh.
Now, which is funny. Trust me, I took it as funny. It was light. I didn't take it serious. I wasn't offended or anything. It's the way he communicates, and I'm familiar with this actor. So I thought it was funny. Fast forward to Orange is the New Black. Guess who's the director in the second episode?
Oh, no, not him. Okay.
He totally doesn't know he doesn't know me. He doesn't remember me, and I didn't expect him to. But I loved it because here I am now with lines. I am an actor, right? I had a co-star part, reoccurring on this show. Here he is, this guy who told me to get away as a background is now directing me as a man with lines. And guess what? He was just as cranky. And I'll tell you why. There's a scene. I'm in a jail. My job is to come, say a line, open up a jail cell door. The jail cell door isn't me actually opening it. It's supposedly automated, but it's not. There's a human being below out of camera that's sliding it open for me to make it look like it's automated. The guy on the floor is messing up a little bit. So when they yell action, he's not opening the door fast enough. But the director's yelling at me. He's like, police, officer. He kept calling me officer. He's like, officer, open the door. Officer, open the door faster. And then finally the guy on the floor, because I didn't want to be rude to the director, goes, it's not his fault, it's me.
Oh, my goodness.
So I just, anyway, funny. Just talk about full circle, come back, still yelling at me. I thought it was funny.
Well, sometimes
Orange is the New Black was fun. I love being on that show. Yeah.
Sometimes that happens, and I've watched you on that show, and it's I know that guy, so I'm kind of like the Israel people. I know him, I know this person, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
so we'll be back with Live on Tape right after this. Right. Each year, 5,000 people, including children, choke to death. LifeVac can stop these senseless tragedies. It's so easy to use. Also, simply place the mask over face, push and pull. You'll never regret having a LifeVac in your home or office. Please visit lifevac.net today to protect you and your loved ones. Or you can call them at 877-LIFEVAC. That's 877-LifeVac.
Serving my country changed my life forever. And when I got home, every day was a struggle. I felt trapped. But everything changed the day my family received a specially adapted custom home from Homes for Our Troops. Now we have a safe and accessible home to enjoy the freedom I fought for.
Homes for Our Troops builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans. Join our mission at hfotusa.org.
And we're back to Live on Tape with Pete Tribuco on WWDB AM 860. That, of course, that is a Beasley Media Group station, Philadelphia. Happy Veterans Day, everybody. We're doing really great. I'm here with Josh, my producer engineer, and we are talking with an incredible actor, a good friend of mine. Love him. He's a good guy. And that is Yaron Urbas. And you might remember him as Tom the Cop on Orange is the New Black, as well as a whole bunch of different blades. 81 credits. Okay, you go to the that site. Was it ISDB or whatever? And it's 81 credits that you have there. You have had an amazing career. You continue to do that. Now, before we go to the writer strike, because I want to talk about that too as well, I do want to talk about your other business. For those of you who don't know, Yaron does everything, but he has a great, he does websites for companies and corporations. He did the website for me. It's an amazing website. If you ever get a chance, go to www.petetribuco.com and you will see an amazing job. And that's how he is. He's just good at anything he does. Tell me how you started this business and give me some information about it, if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I do, the business that I own and operate, is a marketing company. Okay, and I'm focused on digital marketing, which means I help people sell stuff on the internet. Okay, you could be selling products, you could be selling services, you could be selling your personality, right? So someone like you, for example, right? You could be a talk show host and a book writer and an author, right? And I help you market yourself online. So that's what I do. The company is called Yummy Zest. So that's YUMMY Zest, ZEST.com. That's yummyzest.com. And that's what I do. You know, I like to help small to mid-sized businesses grow. I've helped a lot of startups. I've helped a lot of businesses that just need to get better on as far as their online presentation. I've been a big player in big companies, but I've always been an entrepreneur with a small business on the side. I've been in many different industries, and I love it. I love startups. I love the energy and the passion that goes into starting a business, and I like helping people do that. So I'm actually starting a new venture where I'm going to start helping people who want to become freelancers and are afraid to make the leap from freelancer to business owner.
Okay.
You know, I see that every day, and especially in actors or artists. You know, a lot of them are that's all they see themselves as. And they have to figure out how to make money, right? And so the traditional work is like work at a restaurant, for example, right? Or, you know, or the services industry. But you can also nowadays, there's so many businesses you can start online, even if it's just a freelance thing on the side. So I'm going to start doing a video series. I'm going to start sort of guiding people towards how to do freelance work. And again, ideally turning it into a small business, you know, in time. So, yeah, I'm excited about that, man. Thanks for mentioning that.
No, and I will tell you, folks, if you, like I said, go to my website, not because you want to see me, but see the work that Yaron does. He just really good at what he does. And not just that, not just websites. I mean, anything that you need, it's a great company. He's done well with it. And on top of that, he's had a successful acting career, which he continues to do. Now, getting back to the acting. Okay, so this last Thursday, we had, of course, the actor strike. First, it was the writer's strike, and then it was the actor strike, in which I guess it's 60,000 actors is what it affected. For that program, and of course, you would be one of those things. Yeah. What was that like? I mean, obviously, you didn't do as much. No one did because you just couldn't work. But what do you think what that was like for other people, and how did it work out for you?
Yeah, so what a lot of people don't know is that there is a union for actors called SAG-AFTRA, and it's the actors union. And you can be an actor and not be in the union, but then you won't be able to do union work. You'll do non-union work, which doesn't pay very well. You can make I had to work for free often, or as little as $100 a day, or even less, $50 a day. Right. And usually non-union projects, I'm not going to say all the time, but they're usually low value, low production, and they go nowhere. You know, student film could be a non-union film. Now, union films are meant to be done by people who are serious, usually, who have an aspiration to take this artistic product and make it commercially viable, right? Commercially successful, sell it to somewhere so it can be seen, right? So the union is very important to us, right? And to make sure that we get paid well. Like, for example, if you're a member of the union, you're going to get residuals, right? So I'll work on set. I get paid very well for the day I'm there. Or I may have a weekly contract. If you're a series regular, you're going to make real money. You're going to make six figures that year if you're a series regular on a TV show, for example, right? Now, the union actually is for us, you know, I'm going to use the word little guy. I'm a little guy in the business. I'm not a big, well-known household name actor. And most of us are like that. Most of us are people that have jobs, have families, and we're lucky if we get to act on a regular basis. We're fortunate, okay? So the union protects us and makes sure that we get a reasonable wage when we work that day. You know, if you work as a co-star, for example, co-star is when you get at least up to 5 lines on a TV show.
Okay.
You might make about $1,000 for that one day of work. You might be there for the whole day, or you might be there for just a couple of hours, but you'll make your $1,000 for your 8-hour day. And if you go over 8 hours, you'll get overtime in addition. Okay? They're going to give you a wardrobe fitting. You're going to get paid for the fitting. So they make sure you get paid for your artistic talent. Okay? Now, this strike was very important. It lasted 118 days. And the studios finally came to the table with an offer that the union was good with on the 8th. And now it's just going through ratification. It's been approved by the board. And now it just needs to be approved by all of us members, and which most likely it will. Some of the key points in this were AI is disrupting. I'm a tech guy. I try to keep up with this stuff. AI is changing everything we do.
Oh, sure.
And it's not tomorrow. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's not tomorrow. It's today. Right now, I can write code by asking AI to write it for me and just drop it into a website. Okay. I can ask AI for business advice, and it gives me pretty good business advice. I can ask it questions about chemistry, and it'll give me the answer that I may have, you know. I can ask it personal advice, right? But, you know, with the emergence of robotics and AI, there's going to be more and more replacement of human beings. And you know, AI and technology and robotics, for example, coming together means we won't need to work as much. Maybe it might be a good thing, might be a bad thing. There's a bunch of things we won't need people to do. And as far as acting, AI and the ability to render, images on a screen, right? You know, we can already create people, right? In a film.
Sure.
That, you know, and use them again over and over and over again. So imagine if I'm an actor and you use my likeness in a project and you continue to use my likeness forever without my permission or without paying me. You don't need me anymore. I no longer get to act. In the world of voiceover, you don't even need the image. All you need is the voice. We already, you know, I went to the museum. I went to, there was a Picasso installation. I don't know if you had gone to it. It was out for a few months. It showed his art projected onto screens. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
They had an installation at this place where they used AI to simulate what Picasso would write. He had written letters to his brother and various people. Obviously, people back then wrote to each other all the time. And they used AI to basically, almost as if he existed, what would the letters he would write would be like. And it was amazing. I mean, I don't know what Picasso was like, but the idea that we could write letters to his likeness is an amazing idea. So back to acting, we needed to protect ourselves from AI being used to capture our likeness forever or to replace background people, right? You don't really need real background people. You can use technology and AI to create background people in a scene. So now there's a whole industry of background workers that are no longer required.
That's right.
So the union, now I don't know all the details yet because they haven't released it, but they've tremendously limited what AI is going to do as far as replacing us as actors. So that's important. And I always, you know what? It's funny because I always said 10 years ago, I said that, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, being in technology, I'm always trying to think what's going to happen next. I've always said that eventually they'll pay you maybe just for your likeness, your essence, your voice, something about you that is unique, right? And they will continue to use that and make product with that. And that's exactly what they were trying to do. So the union apparently has succeeded in preventing that. Now, some of the other stuff is streaming royalties. So royalties are what we get when a project continues to be seen long after we did the job.
Sure.
And that keeps us employed for a little bit. Now, these aren't massive checks, not for guys like me. If you're a series regular on Friends, right, their royalty checks are probably pretty significant every month still to this day. But if you've been, like I was on Orange, I was in The New Black. When the show first aired, I got a big royalty check. A month later, a couple of months later, another big royalty check. Slowly, as time passes, your royalty check gets smaller and smaller because there's less interest in the show by viewers. But it's still something, right? Now, with streaming, the royalties were lower. They were much lower. And it just had to stop because most people now are on Netflix. We're all on platforms. We're not watching network television anymore. And the residuals on those were better. So they supposedly in the new deal, now our residuals are going to be better. They also got us pay increases. I think there's going to be bonuses on if a show gets seen more and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's some of the stuff that they've been fighting for. I think the other part of this too is auditioning. One of the things that post-COVID, and by the way, Pete, just cut me off if I'm like sort of going on and on. But
no, this is very interesting. Very interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, cool. One other part that's been a little overexploited, in my opinion, is post-COVID, I have me and many actors industry-wide have not actually gone into a casting room in front of a casting director to audition.
Wow.
Most of us are doing it via self-tape. And during COVID, that was a necessity because there was COVID. But that's continued to be a practice. Now, guess what? That saves the studios lots of money because casting directors no longer necessarily need to rent a room or equipment or take the time to have you come into the office. Now we can do it all virtually. We can do it via video or via self-tapes. Now, what that's done is that's placed the burden on and also they would have to hire a reader. Now we've placed the burden on the actor. In addition to all the other burdens that actors have to deal with, now we're telling the actor, find your own space, get your own camera equipment, get your own reader, and record this at home, and then send it to us. So there's a cost incurred with that is not fair for the actor to accept. And then the other part of it is also because of that, and I'm one that feels that because of the fact that it's all self-tape, I don't think they're watching all these self-tapes.
Okay.
Used to be a casting director might call in 20 people for a role, 50 people for a role. You knew that your thing was going to get seen. The time and investment you made in learning your lines, studying your character and portraying it and delivering in the best way you can, you may be completely wasting your time now. You may be doing that, and they may not even see it because of the fact that it's a self-tape. They can ask hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people to submit a self-tape, but how many of them are they actually seeing? There's no cost to them now, with the exception of the time to review these. So that's not fair. Now, my understanding is they may have figured out a way to take care of us a little bit. Some people have been talking about paying us to audition. Now, I don't know if that actually passed, but my understanding is that there's actually a history back to the early studios in the early 1900s. Supposedly, back then, there's a line in our contracts or something under the union contracts that basically tells the studios they actually do have to pay us something for the auditions. But SAG-AFTRA has never fought for that apparently, and no one's ever challenged it. Last thing an actor wants to do is fight with casting and fight with producers, right?
No, I agree with you on that. Yeah,
yeah.
Well,
so we need to make sure that actors auditioning, maybe they should be compensated for that, or at least compensated for the burden of organizing a self-tape. So I think that's something that they've been trying to fight for as well.
Well, the scary part.
I think that's a scary. Yeah.
Yeah, the scary part, basically, the AI stuff is very scary because my daughter, she actually is a professor at a college, okay, and she does that on the side, and she's getting reports now, like the reports that get back to her, and you can tell it was done by AI. You can tell it wasn't done by the student.
Yeah.
So even that area is actually being affected. And just think about that with the actors. Like now you see these actors on stage, they're dead, yet they're on screen. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, they're not perfect yet. I'm sure they will be soon, but the thing is, you're right. Most of these actors, you're not going to need the backup actors. You're not going to need people, the voiceover work. In fact, during the play I just did, I did 12 Angry Jurors. And it was a fun play. Mm-hmm. But we didn't have a judge. Okay. So the person said, well, look, why don't we use the AI for the judge? We'll create the judge in AI. So before we got on stage, believe it or not, you heard the judge, and the judge was not a real person. It was AI doing the introduction, and it sounded as if they were in the studio, or they were actually in the theater. So that scares me. That really does scare me. Well, listen, we'll be back with Live on Tape right after this. Each year, 5,000 people, including children, choke to death. LifeVac can stop these senseless tragedies. It's so easy to use also. Simply place the mask over the face, push and pull. You'll never regret having a LifeVac in your home or office. Please visit lifevac.net today to protect you and your loved ones. Or you can call them at 877-LIFEVAC. That's 877-LifeVac.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
And welcome back to Live on Tape with Pete Trabucco, and especially today on Veterans Day. We do appreciate those veterans that have fought for our freedom. So happy to do that, and thank you so much for all the work you have done. We have had, and we continue to have, or at least for another 5 minutes, we're going to have Yaron Urbas, who is an actor, and you might remember him as Tom the Cop on Orange is the New Black. Or you can go to any other 81 credits on IMDb, Law and Order, FBI, Crazy Town. It just keeps going and going and going of all the stuff that he has done. We've talked about AI, okay, which is an issue that obviously the strike for the actors ended last Wednesday. It's $1 billion type of a contract that's being set up. And I got to admit, Yaron, you covered everything when it comes to what we know about that strike. Is that going to affect you at all? Are you going to still going forward with this stuff and just not? Because some people, I know, I've talked to some people, they're like, I'm out, I'm done, I'm not doing this anymore. It's gotten crazy, and I don't want to do it anymore. I mean, what are you doing? What are you going to do?
So I've balanced my life a bit more in that I spent a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of energy trying to stay grounded in the acting world. And it has been successful, and it's been awesome, and it's been worth it. I've come to more balance. I came to a point where I realized I was spending a lot of money and a lot of time, and I wasn't getting the financial returns that I needed in order to provide for myself and my family. And I think at some point in an actor's career, you have to figure that out, and you got to know when. I have so many peers that, there's some I'm very close to, and some are just, artistic acquaintances, right? And the ones that that trust me and I trust them, I'm honest with them. I tell them, look, maybe it's time you started thinking about picking up a gig, picking up a freelance gig. Maybe, well, what am I going to do? You got to remember some actors have been acting all their lives, and some are like me. This is something they came into. So I had skill sets outside of the world of acting that have benefited me, but not everyone has that. If you've been an actor all your life, to suddenly come to terms with the idea that you're not able to make a living doing this consistently, then you got to start picking up work, and you got to revisit maybe a career or something lucrative, and that's one reason why I want to, I have decided that I want to start kind of giving ideas to guys and folks out there that don't have business skills and freelance ideas, and helping them come up with ideas. Because now here's the beautiful thing. You mentioned AI. The internet has allowed us to make money in all sorts of ways. You can sit at home and make lots of money. There's lots of ways to do that. AI is now opening up lots of new possibilities for you to make money, or just make a living. You don't need to necessarily get rich, but you can make a living and continue to be an artist. So what I've done is I've just found balance in my life. I still pursue acting, but not with the same energy and time and money as I used to. I've started to write. I'm looking at producing. You shift a bit.
Okay.
That's one way to start making money in the industry.
Okay, so
yeah,
one last point. You talked about you want to help the actors out. Give me those websites again for your company and for everything else. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So if there's anyone out there listening that either has a business or is looking at starting a business or just starting a freelance venture, reach out, contact me. Okay, you can go to my website, Yummy. That's YUMMY Zest.com. That's YummyZest.com. Okay, my name again is Yaron Urbas. You can go to the contact form on the site, and you can reach out to me, and I'd be glad to help you. Okay, on your journey. Thank you for that, Pete. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you. I look forward to seeing your next venture and all the things that you do. And on behalf of myself and Josh, thank you so much. And that wraps up another Live on Tape. And we'll talk to you again.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Oh, you're welcome. And we'll talk to you all again next week.
Take care.